From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fairbanks Evening News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Stephanie Woodard. Daryl Clark has the evening off. Our top story tonight, city police responded to a multi-vehicle accident early this morning at the corner of the Steese Highway and Johansson Expressway. Police say the accident occurred when a car turned from the Steese onto the Johansson and collided with another vehicle that then slid into a stopped school bus. Now, the bus wasn't carrying any children, but the driver was injured and taken to the hospital for treatment. Police officer Russell Fett said he urged drivers to watch their speed now, especially during harsh winter conditions.
You just slow down, okay? When it comes to driving, they really need to know how much time they have to make a turn, and if they don't have enough time, to just slow down and wait that extra minute or that light cycle to make sure that they can make the turn safely instead of putting themselves or other people who are stopped at these intersections in harm's way.
The Fairbanks School District has confirmed that an agreement has been reached in the civil lawsuit that stems from allegations of sexual abuse of a student by a tutor at Hutchison High School. The two parties agreed to settle for $920,000. Now, all but about $250,000 of that amount is covered by the borough's insurance. The agreement was reached after a 9-hour mediation in Seattle between attorneys for both sides. The school board held a meeting last evening to vote on the proposed agreement, and it was approved. The deal is still subject to final court approval because the claim involved a minor child. Tutor Claude Falks remains in jail, charged with sexual abuse of the teenage male student. The board president told us the resolution will help everyone move forward.
So there is a difference between civil and criminal, and both parties felt that it was in the best interest of the student and the family to settle so that we can all move forward. As a district, we'll continue. We've made a lot of changes, and we're continuing to make changes that are in the best interest of our students and keeping them safe.
Ballot Measure 2, which passed during the November 4th general election and legalized possession, use, and the sale of marijuana in Alaska, becomes law on February 26th. Last night, elected officials from all 3 local municipalities participated in a town hall meeting to discuss the business side of the issue with area residents. The event included a heavy dose of public testimony in favor of the law. According to the measure, municipalities will have the right to regulate retail cannabis establishments within their boundaries. Borough Mayor Luke Hopkins says he and his staff have been crafting an ordinance to address the issue, but he does not plan to impose a moratorium on marijuana sales. Assemblyman Carl Castle, who called the meeting, says the borough should focus on zoning regulations in regards to retail outlets for pot.
So cannabis and marijuana are not in our zoning code anywhere currently, and they should be. Most of the community recognizes that we probably don't want these establishments next to a daycare center or a church, that sort of thing. And so, to be fair to the businesses in our community, the Borough Assembly is going to need to take a look at that and figure out what's appropriate.
Officials with the Alaska Department of Conservation have been in town all week discussing proposed changes to air quality regulations in non-attainment areas such as the Fairbanks North Star Borough. Locally, there have been 2 open houses in recent days on the new regulations that are available for public review and comment through December 19th. The state is seeking to improve air quality in Fairbanks and North Pole by the year 2019. Today, Alaska DEC officials held 2 public hearings at the Noel Wien Library. Attendance at the early session was sparse, with only 4 people testifying in the first hour of the hearing. North Pole resident Ray Sobolski, who had a heart transplant 7 years ago, does not feel the interior's air quality presents a health hazard.
So somebody that's keyed into clean air or taking care of himself, I'm quite aware of what I need to do and what I don't need to do. With that being said, I've never had an issue with smoke. I've never had an issue with particulate count. And I think the majority of where we're going with this is just insane.
All right, when we come back, Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski announced that most of the Alaska military funding projects she has been working on have been approved. Also, the Alaska Air National Guard recently teamed up with the U.S. Air Force at Eielson to work together on medical training. Those stories plus more coming up next. Welcome back to the Fairbanks Evening News. A Circle man will serve prison time after an accident that left a passenger in his vehicle paralyzed. 25-year-old Nolan Peterson was sentenced to serve 1 year in jail. He will also have to surrender his driver's license and vehicles to the state of Alaska and also pay restitution to the victim. According to an affidavit, Peterson flipped the vehicle on a turn, causing substantial injuries to himself and his passenger. Both had to be airlifted to Fairbanks Memorial Hospital, and the passenger was later medevaced to Anchorage for surgery on his spine. Peterson claimed he was the designated driver for the evening, but troopers found him to have a 0.121% breath alcohol content hours after the accident. The Fairbanks woman accused of harboring fugitive Julius J.T. Chambers was in Fairbanks Superior Court this afternoon for a plea deal. 35-year-old Cindy Roeder was originally facing felony charges. Today, those charges were reduced to a single count of attempted hindering prosecution, a Class A misdemeanor. Roeder was sentenced to 12 months in jail, but the judge suspended all 12 months. Roeder allegedly aided Chambers by allowing him to reside inside her North Pole apartment, dyeing his hair and facial hair, as well as posting taunting and threatening Facebook messages to authorities. As part of the deal, Roeder will also have to testify against Chambers should his trial go to case. A district court judge has set the trial date for Arvin Kangas, the father of the Tanana man accused of shooting and killing 2 Alaska State troopers. The elder Kangas will be tried on misdemeanor assault charges in Nenana on December 16th. These were original charges that brought the troopers to the village of Tanana on May 1st, the day the shooting took place. Court documents say it was during a struggle to arrest Arvin Kangas on those charges that both troopers were murdered. There will be a pretrial conference in Fairbanks December 15th. Now, a jury summons will be sent out for nearly 90 people. The State Alcoholic Beverage Control Board will advise Alaska legislatures to reduce the criminal classification of charges for selling alcohol to minors and eliminate some of the penalties for minors cited for underage drinking. The ABC Board's unanimous vote yesterday supports more than 30 recommendations and concludes a 2-year review by a special committee. The recommendations approved by the 5-member board include calls for increased funding of alcohol crime prosecutions in rural Alaska, adding sanctions that licensees would have to pay for employees caught selling alcohol to minors, and several changes to licensing requirement as well. The proposed laws have not been written out in detail yet, but in approving the review, the board now has the framework for what it will ask legislatures to approve during the annual session in Juneau. Senator Lisa Murkowski announced today that the House and Senate negotiations to fund America's military for the coming year reflect a number of the key Alaskan priorities she's worked to advance with congressional leadership. She said Alaska's tactical position on the globe has long made the state an ideal investment for the nation's defense, and the results of this year's discussions demonstrate that. With the momentum of June's successful interceptor test, the Department of Defense has allotted $40 million for improvements and expansions to the missile defense system at Fort Greely. During hearings on the matter today, Senator Murkowski questioned the head of the Missile Defense Agency.
The importance of the radar is that it provides us that needed discrimination capability against the threat from North Korea. As they continue to progress and add decoys and countermeasures, and I'll stop there in terms of classification, we must have a discrimination capability of a radar to counter that.
Doctors, nurses, and medical professionals from the Air National Guard brought their training to the active duty Air Force in Alaska earlier this year. Monty Bowen has details in this week's military report.
Guardsmen from Texas and Michigan spent a week in Alaska teaching airmen here how to set up expeditionary medical support teams. The airmen learned how to set up a field hospital equipped with an emergency room and a surgical table. Captain Harold Hill, the Plans and Operations Officer, said the National Guard is a great tool for the training.
So we're using a unique team from Michigan who has the ability to fly up here, set up this kind of facility.
It also saves a lot of money, since it's cheaper to bring the small group here than to transport a large number of people to their facilities.
So you don't have to fly a large number of active duty personnel stateside for this event. Cuts the event basically the cost in half to do this.
This is Bonnie Bowen reporting.
The Military Report is brought to you by Stanley Nissan. Innovation for all.
All right, Joe Cook is next with Nanook Sports. A lot of teams are hitting the road this weekend. Also a look ahead to this week in high school sports. All that next with Joe.
Welcome back, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook here with your local Wednesday sports. The UAF swim team has an important weekend coming up. Alaska travels to Federal Way, Washington for the Husky Invitational, where the women will compete in 3 days of swimming. Last season, Alaska set 4 program records and a number of NCAA B times in last year's Husky Invitational. They also won the 200 and 400 medley relays, their first ever wins at the Invitational. Victoria Adams set the school record in the 200 backstroke, and Margot Adams set a new record in the 200 individual medley. UAF enters this weekend's action with a 2-2 overall record. They'll have a long break after the Husky Invitational, not getting back into the pool against another team until January 4th in Coronado, California. This week, head coach Mick Durham will really see what his team is made of when they face their first GNAC opponents of the season. Thursday, Alaska travels to Western Oregon to take on the Wolves and then play the St. Martin Saints. On Saturday, UAF swept the Saints and split with the Wolves last season. Western Oregon is 5-2 to start the season, while the Saints are 2-5. The Wolves get 9 steals per game and are holding opponents to about 66 points per. Alaska's 2-3 in their first 5 outings and have formed a nice core. Ruben Silvas is the playmaker, and Ashton Edwards, Adam Griffin, they can put up points along with Kyle Tomlinson, and Emil Hadjisevich is an inside presence with some hustle. Durham reminds us it's still early, but thinks these first GNAC games will help in further improving this new squad.
GNAC is a tough conference, so I'm excited. I look forward to leading my team and going against competition. That's what we're here for, to play against great teams and hopefully get wins.
I think we're learning together, getting better in all areas. Everything's new. Start of games, start of second halves, end of games, who to have in, who can make free throws. Learn the hard way a little bit last Saturday night maybe on that. And so, but I really like their attitude, how they're working and how we're progressing.
The Nanook women's basketball team will be in the national spotlight for the first time in program history. Thursday, they play number 23 Seattle Pacific. The game will be broadcasted on Root Sports at 6 p.m. Alaska time. It'll be the first time the women's team will play on TV. This will be the first GNAC game of the season for the Nanooks. Last season, Alaska nearly upset then number 6 SPU at home in a 68-71 loss. UAF is currently ranked 9th in the region, led by Jordan Wilson's 14 points and 6 rebounds per game. The Falcons are led by Susanna Olsen, who was 4th in scoring and 3rd in steals in the conference. The Nooks started out 5-0 and went 1-2 in last week's North Star Invitational. They're coming off a tough win over Colorado Christian headed into Thursday. The Nanooks feel ready, given how they've had some games in their non-conference schedule that they've won despite facing some adversity.
Probably the last 5 games we played, we were either in an adverse situation where we either had a lead and we're letting it slip, or we had to put on the press to get back into the game. Overall, it's helped us build our confidence and see different kind of things, which definitely we see in conference play.
We're able to play with these good teams in the GNAC, and that as long as we play as a team and we can knock down shots, get some inside out post play, and play some good defense, we can run with these teams.
Switching down a level, here's a rundown for high school sports this week. The MAC hockey teams will be going down to Anchorage for some games. West Valley North Pole will take on Chugiak, East and West Anchorage. Lathrop will play South on Wednesday, then Eagle River, and have a 2-game series against Juneau on Friday and Saturday. And in high school rifle, they will have their region championships this Friday and Saturday at the E.F. Horton Rifle Range and the Patty Center. And 3A Wrestling Region Championships are this weekend as well. Hutchinson will host the Denali Conference Championships between Allison, Hutch, Galena, and Delta. The skiing teams will also have their second Talon Series on Saturday at Birch Hill. And now we wrap things up with the Pro Football Challenge winner. The winner for Week 13 is Ernie 333. Congrats, Ernie. You get an oil change courtesy of Stanley Nissan. Ernie got 13 of 16 picks right. With just a few weeks left in the NFL regular season, there's a lot of parity in the PFC standings. There's a 4-way tie for first place with True Grit 69, Dylan Grud, Skieville, and Axelborn. NE Pats Fan 89 is second, then Jay Gazeta. Mike Schultz is sitting comfortably ahead of me with 120 points to 106 as he gloats in the background. Log on to website11.com to make your picks. Thursday's game is the Cowboys taking on the Bears. And that'll do it for sports tonight. Mike Schultz is next with your full weather forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back into our Wednesday night newscast. Mike Schultz with you once again, taking a look at the weather. The snow has finally stopped, about 6 to 8 inches of snow, depending whereabouts you were in the interior. It was 6 inches at the airport, but I know I had 8 inches where I live. And the snow is going to be not with us all the way through the weekend, the way it looks right now. Temperatures will cool down a little bit. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Interesting photograph tonight. This is actually frost on a rail, a metal rail that Brad Tuttle was able to capture on his camera, and a nice dynamic design there. And as always, if you have a photograph to share, by all means, send it to us at photos@ktvf11.com, and we'll share it with the rest of the audience. Very nice picture. Here's what's going on right now at the airport. The high today, 24, the low last night, 17. The record high, 44. That was set in 1934. Record low, 49 below in 1916. Your sunrise and sunset, less than 4.5 hours of daylight, a loss of 5 minutes from yesterday. On our satellite and radar, you can see more clouds and moisture moving up from the south, but you know what? The Alaska range is once again going to block all that out and keep us from getting any more snow in here. And the skies will be clearing out, which means cooler temperatures. Also, we've got some fog out there. We've been notified that there is fog near the Richardson, on the Richardson Highway near North Pole, so keep that in mind if you're driving that direction. And as far as what's going on across the rest of the state, well, the skies have cleared over southeast Alaska. 33 degrees at Juneau, 38 at Ketchikan. Around the Anchorage Bowl, cloudy skies for the most part. Rain showers at Kodiak Island, a very cold rain, 35 degrees there. Clear skies at Cold Bay. Up and down the west coast, we're looking at partly cloudy to clear skies. Cloudy skies up in the North Slope, 8 degrees below zero at Barrow, 6 below at Fort Yukon. Lower 48 weather, heading over the Pacific Northwest, the rains have returned to the Seattle area, 50 degrees there. Also scattered rain across the southern half of California. More rain moving across Texas, kind of chilly around Minneapolis, 23 degrees there. Some showers and thunderstorms around the Florida Peninsula, as you would expect. Things have cleared out over New York, only 47 degrees and partly cloudy. On the satellite and radar, again, you can see a little bit of wisps of moisture moving across the northeast, and some showers, like I said, moving across around the Dallas area, and more flow of moisture coming across the southern sections of California, which means more rain possibility. In fact, the heaviest rain is expected to be from Los Angeles right on down to San Diego, and looking at temperatures, once again, very mild, so that the snow level is way up there, about 7,000 feet, but at least more rain means maybe less flooding, or less opportunity for drought, and that's good news. Now, the overall jet stream, once again, way up to the north, once again allowing the drier conditions to move back in over California, showers over the deep south, and widespread rain over the southeast. Well, back to Alaska for tomorrow. Here's what it looks like in the northern sections. Mostly cloudy skies at Barrow, snow showers for Nome, and scattered flurries in the Fort Yukon area. Here in the interior, looking pretty good. Actually, partly cloudy and cooler at Fairbanks, cloudy skies in Healy, and increasing clouds for Delta Junction. While over southeast Alaska, we're looking at partly cloudy skies for Juneau, a few clouds and some fog in the Ketchikan area. And over to the southwest, it looks like for the most part, partly cloudy skies at Cold Bay and Bethel, with rain likely at Kodiak Island. And if you head on down the Anchorage Bowl, looking at cloudy skies in Anchorage, snow showers at Homer, and 1 to 3 inches of snow still possible for the Valdez area. Time once again for our kids' weather, giving the kids a week off to recuperate from Thanksgiving. And we're going to give you a weather fact each night. And tonight in 1989, Presque Isle, Maine, had more than 30 inches of snow falling in a 24-hour period. Again, thanks to Mount McKinley Bank for sponsoring our Kids Watch. And next week, we'll return with the kids from Nordale, and they'll be having some interesting pictures and questions for us. Okay, here's your forecast for the remainder of the night. Decreasing clouds with colder temperatures, 10 degrees below zero. And tomorrow's forecast looking at 14 above, partly cloudy, a little cooler than it was today. The extended forecast, single digits all the way across the board. Overnight lows in the teens below, but then warming up a little bit to the single digits below. And again, no snow in the forecast all the way through Tuesday. We might possibly see some flurries by Tuesday, and that's about it. But all in all, Stephanie, the snow is, even though we only got 6 inches, it's pretty heavy in spots.
It is, and again, we want to remind everybody to slow down. There have been quite a few accidents reported, so just use caution, slow down, and be careful out there.
And we have reports of fog in the North Pole area on the Richardson Highway.
Yeah, so definitely slow down tonight. Okay, thank you, Mike. That'll wrap up our broadcast tonight. We're glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, that's next with Brian Williams, and we invite you to stay tuned for that.
That's right. Join us here. I love it, Mike. All right, join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a good night. We'll see you back here at 11.
Good night.